5269 Mitchell Road in Ridgeway, Virginia. Through the course of that investigation, it was determined that Timothy Brian Howell, 43 years of age, had went to 5269 Mitchell Road. Shortly after he arrived there at that location, Howell produced a firearm and shot a gentleman by the name of Shannon Bryant. Then he fled the scene. Investigators from the Henry County Sheriff's Office began an investigation, and as a result, we issued warrants on Timothy Brian Howell for malicious wounding, use of a firearm in the commission of a felony, and possession of a firearm by a violent convicted felon. We've been looking for Howell since March the 2nd of this year. Investigators with the Henry County Sheriff's Office began working with the United States Marshals Task Force to locate Howell and ultimately sought to arrest him on the outstanding felony warrants. At approximately 12:45 p.m. today, lunchtime, Henry County deputies, along with officers from the Martinsville Police Department and the United States Marshals Task Force, successfully located Timothy Howell at 805 Wright Road in Ridgeway. Howell was at a camper located in a wooded area. It was a great distance off of the highway. When those officers encountered Howell, he was armed with a handgun. Those officers announced themselves, and he subsequently pointed that gun toward law enforcement officers. As a result, officers fired their weapons, hitting Howell multiple times. Those officers then immediately began performing life-saving measures on Howell. Timothy Howell was airlifted to a Virginia hospital for treatment of life-threatening injuries. And our most recent update is that Howell is now in stable condition. So as investigators have worked through the afternoon, we're told that those investigators at the scene of the shooting have discovered numerous additional firearms as well as suspected methamphetamine at that location. With that said, the Virginia State Police will be conducting a complete and thorough investigation of this incident. At that time, that's all the details we're prepared to release.
And today you said you backed your officers. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, we absolutely. We support those officers 100%. And in fact, it's because of courageous men and women who put their lives on the line every day that we're able to live in a safe community. And they're tasked with making difficult decisions every day, and we must stand behind them and support them.
You know you'll have online critics that will say I'll at least wait for the investigation, though.
The preliminary investigation that we went through today in coordination with the state police, I stand behind those officers 100%. And what I'd say to those critics is we're hiring. They can pin a badge on, they can complete the necessary training, they can come out and put their life on the line day in and day out before they pass judgment on anyone.
Are the state police, are y'all going to say anything?
What about the city? What is the city's involvement in this?
So our officers were involved because they're members of the United States Marshals Task Force. We utilize the task force to assist us, and we in turn about assist others. It's a way of kind of increasing our effectiveness in bringing several agencies together to work together and to get some resources that we normally wouldn't be able to have in order to do this sort of thing. And if I might just emphasize the professionalism of these deputies, these officers, and these marshals that were there today. This was an extremely rural area, very remote. And the officers were professional from the very beginning to the end. That once the incident was concluded, the person was no longer a threat. As the sheriff mentioned, they began immediately performing life-saving measures that I am certain saved this individual's life today by using medical skills they've learned, applying tourniquets, that sort of thing. And so I just really have to commend their ability to be involved in this critical incident like this high-stress incident, and immediately switch gears and go into life-saving mode and do what they can to save this individual.
I also echo the chief's sentiments. This individual produced a firearm in an effort to point it at our law enforcement officers, despite being forced with a difficult decision immediately thereafter. As the chief said, they switched gears and they saved this man's life. So I'm very proud of the actions that all those officers took today.
On a day like today, and you're having to ride to the scene, what do you feel?
It's a stressful situation. You know, we were in my office having a meeting, we heard the call come out over the radio. And so, you know, it was a long ride from Kings Mountain Road to Wright Road, not knowing all the details. It was a very rural location in our county, poor cell service, poor radio reception, so.
One of the things I want to ask you, because obviously you're war on drugs. When it comes to crime, are your numbers up or are they down?
Looking at the number of crimes that was reported for the first quarter of this year, we just analyzed those numbers, January, February, March, and the number of reported crimes was at a near all-time low.
Can you elaborate on all of you guys working together, how important it is? Again, Chief, you mentioned that a little bit, how important for all three of you, these organizations to work together to make today was tough enough, but it could have been a lot worse.
It's absolutely essential. Marshall and Henry County is one community. We work together as one team just because our uniforms are a different color. We're here to do one purpose, and that's serve the citizens of Marshall and Henry County. That's made possible through our partnership with the City Police Department and the Virginia State Police. And I'll let the Chief speak on it if you'd like.
Yes, and echo that, that not only the ones that you see in uniform, but I do have to hand it to the marshals today, that they've also showed up to assist in this. You know, we have partnerships with the state police, with the sheriff's office, with the DEA, with the ATF, with the U.S. Marshals, and we all have that same goal. Just as Sheriff Davis said, we're all working together to try to reduce crime and make this place a great place to live and work. And I know that some of you are kind of questioning about, well, why is the state police being so quiet today? They actually have to be, because they are the ones that's conducting the investigation. So they're, in today's capacity, they're somewhat removed. But let me throw in another little example of how the state police helps us. And this isn't that's talked about that much. This incident is very traumatic to the officers involved. And so one of the first things the state police do, in addition to saying, okay, we're going to investigate this to make certain the officers did everything appropriately, they also come in with people to counsel our officers and to make certain that they're doing okay mentally and give them advice and counseling to help them through these difficult situations. Because this is highly stressful and the officers involved are greatly affected. Their families are greatly affected by this. And so I want to thank the state police not only for being that independent source of an investigation, but also being there to assist our folks to ensure that they can get through this critical incident.
When do you plan to release the name of the deputy?
We won't be releasing that name. And people need to consider that they're not just a deputy sheriff, but they have friends, family, loved one. So we don't intend to, as a practice, the sheriff's office has never released the name of one of our deputies involved in a shooting before. We don't intend to begin now.
But don't you think they'll hit the street and people will be talking and?
Well, that may happen, but, you know, there are continuing safety issues for that officer involved in the shooting as well. You know, there's always a potential for retaliation at one level or not. So the care for our officers is first and foremost, is paramount. I just don't think it's beneficial to release an individual's name.
Is there any different protocol for search warrants and things like today for issuing search warrants and tactical jobs like today?
Well, this wasn't a search warrant, it was an arrest warrant operation. You know, a lot of due diligence goes into all these, and that starts with our officers' training. So we ensure that they have adequate training, experience, and equipment. We invest in them before they're ever put into this situation. And so that's really where it begins. But not only that, we do our homework, we do our due diligence in order to try to ensure everyone is safe. Unfortunately, sometimes people on the other end of that arrest make bad decisions, and that's what happened today.
Will there be a mugshot of
Yes, we'll have that at the end of this press conference.
on the emails?
We're going to display it right here and,
Okay.
and email it to you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Howell's gun was never fired, correct?
That's-
Timothy Howell's number?
Well-
Gun, sorry.
I'd leave that for the Virginia State Police when they conclude their investigation.
I know you've been topical on these pellet guns. Can you tell us about those real quick since we have the cameras going?
Can we do that afterwards?
All right, yes, sir. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, you want to, say if you want to show that so that way they can get a shot of. Yeah, y'all are welcome to come up and get better pictures and stuff. It's kind of tough at a distance to sometimes get those shots.
And we will send this out with email with the media release.